Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Ninja Crusaders, brought to us by Sammy. Ninja Crusaders is a rather short, but very difficult game to play for the NES. You only have one hit to your death, and most of the weapons that you're going to be picking up throughout the game have a very short range. But, due to its short length, this allows you to master the levels rather easily and actually be able to complete the game. So here we go with Ninja Crusaders for the NES. So as you can see in Ninja Crusaders, aliens have come down and destroyed the world, and it's up to 2 ninjas to stop them. In the game, there's 4 different weapons for you to pick up. You start with a shuriken, there's a long chain you can pick up, a short sword, and my favorite, the bow. All these weapons inflict different amounts of damage to the enemies and have different ranges. The cool thing, though, about the game is that anytime you have one of these weapons, you can turn into a different type of animal. I'll be showing all 4 animal types throughout the game, first being the scorpion, which you get for changing with the chain in your inventory. The scorpion unfortunately moves really slow even though it has a good ranged attack, and it ends up being rather worthless to actually use. My absolute favorite is the bow, but let me show the shuriken off as well. With that, you turn into a very quick moving tiger. The only problem with the tiger is you have a very short ranged attack and it takes multiple hits to take out most enemies. While the movement and speed seems like it's a definite advantage, when you find out later on that the weapons like the bow or the sword have better attack power, it ends up being more beneficial to grab them. As I begin level 1-2, I'm going to switch using the sword to the dragon transformation, which is really cool. You can fly as the dragon, which allows me to fly over a large amounts of the water area that's below me, and it allows me also to shoot out large fireballs to take out enemies. While this is great for getting over large amounts of terrain, you still only have one hit that you can take before you end up losing a life, regardless if you're in an animal transformation or in your ninja form. The bow weapon is my favorite, and the reason for this is the most powerful attack in the game. It does have a very short range, and it takes a little bit to get used to this. However, once you get used to using the weapon, you'll find out that you'll be breezing through levels rather easily. For the first boss of the game, you have to take out his head first and then deliver 2 shots with the bow to the claw-like appendage that's hanging down the bottom. Hit that twice and you defeat the boss and move on to level 2. All bosses in the game, not just that one, are going to be taken out with only a couple of hits from the bow, whereas using the other weapons, such as the shuriken or chain, takes a lot more hits to take out the boss, and because of that, you'll have more opportunities to end up losing a life. While the first few levels of the game really aren't too much to deal with, they're pretty easy and it's just you getting used to it. However, once you get into the later stages of the game, from level 3 on, you start finding that the enemy patterns are very sporadic, and because of this, it takes a while to get through the levels and takes a lot of memorization to get through without losing a life. The bow transformation is the bird, which is a pretty good transformation. It doesn't really seem to have too much of an attack, but it allows you also, like the dragon, to fly over enemies. The thing about it, though, is every time you're flying, you're always heading downwards, so if you're at the top of the screen and move forward, you're going to be slowly sinking, and you have to keep adjusting yourself to keep steady with what direction you want to exactly go in. The underwater parts of the game are a little bit weird to get used to, considering you're really not swimming, you're just kind of walking through the water. And because of this, you're also going to be constantly sinking when you move forward, and you have to keep pressing the jump button in order to go back up. Just take your time through the water areas, and you should find yourself being able to get through them after only a try or 2. When you reach the ground underwater, be sure to get ready to duck in case any of the robots also land on the ground, as the missiles will hit you if you're still standing up. The second boss is just as easy as the first. You have to hit it in the mouth though, and it's a little bit tricky to do that. Stay close to it as it moves back and forth because the projectile weapon that it does shoot out fires off about halfway across the screen from where he is. So if you're near him at all, his projectile won't even be anywhere near you when it fires. That way it'll give you plenty of opportunities to give 3 quick shots with the bow to his mouth to defeat him and move on to level 3. At the beginning of stage number 3, hang out near the top of the trees. This will allow you to jump between the trees and jump over any of the bug enemies as they start homing in on your direction. With any enemy in the game that's just standing still waiting for you to take it out, just be careful and cautious sometimes because you're never quite sure exactly when the projectile is going to come out of it. Wait a time or two for the projectiles to come out, and then make your move and attack it or jump over it, whatever you prefer. Very sporadic enemy patterns really start to pick up in level 3-2. Of course, there's a lot of the same normal enemies, but these mantis-type green enemies will appear for the first time. We'll be seeing them throughout the rest of the game. As you can see, as they bounce around, they're a little bit sporadic, and this can be really troublesome when trying to get close enough to actually hurt them. You'll try to get close sometimes, and all of a sudden they'll be going right, and then immediately turn around and jump right into you, and you're not really prepared for it and end up losing a life. Sometimes it's best to just kind of stand there a distance away from them so they can't really hit you, and just see if they end up falling into a pit themselves or go off screen and get away from you. For the next boss, we have another really easy boss battle. Duck down and wait for him to come towards you. When he comes towards you, deliver some quick hits. His first claw attack will go above you, then as soon as it comes back, jump so his second one that goes below won't hit you, land on the ground, duck again and wait for him to come back. It'll only take 5 or so shots with the bow to take out that boss and move on to level 4. In level 4-1, you actually have 2 choices of where to go. You can stay on top of the cruiser and work your way along that, or you can jump into the water and go along that path. Usually, just for the easier path, I'll take the ship itself. Most of the enemies are either standing still or very slow moving. The only thing you really have to dodge in this level is any projectiles a few of the robots may shoot out. 4-2 is a much harder level to deal with. It has a lot more of those sporadic moving enemies, the mantises, that we've seen in previous levels. Here's our first one that we have to deal with, and I know it's coming, so I wait for it the right second, just move a little bit so it'll pop out, and as it's coming down for the first time, attack it in mid-air. If you're not sure where it's coming the first time, that one can be a real pain because it just bounces all around and can be really tough to take out. Same goes for any of the other later ones, such as this one, as we make it farther in. Just be very careful and move along slowly your first few times here so you can try to get the jump on the enemy and see when it first spawns and comes after you. 4-2's boss is a large spaceship that you have to hit in the front. It's only going to take a handful of hits to take it out, and its projectile for the first one shoots to the right, so that really is no threat, and then the one that it shoots after that to the front, just make sure that you wait for it before you're jumping up to do an attack at its front. World 5, or Stage 5, is the last stage of the game, and it actually has 2 boss battles. 5-1 has a boss, and then the final boss at the end of 5-2. For the first time in a while, I'm going to summon the bird ability to help me fly over some of the harder enemies. These mantis enemies are such a pain in the butt, using the bird here can be a great advantage for getting past the level. For 5-1's boss, duck down here, and wait for the enemy to come running over to you. His hand that hits you will go over you, his projectiles can't hit you, and it allows you to get really quick shots in right on the center part where you actually can hurt him, and the boss go down real quickly if you're able to get in that right spot. 5-2 is the last stage of the game, and it's really tough to get through. Not only does it have sporadic movement enemies, it has these fly bug type enemies that just keep hovering on screen, moving in your general direction each time firing projectiles. They can be a real nuisance, as well as the large spaceships that stand still for a few seconds and then charge forward with a 3-shot spread shot. Most of your practice and most of your patience will probably get eaten up during the course of this stage trying to get through it for the first time. Move just step by step and try to take out those mantises as soon as they appear and get in your way. No sense in letting 2 or 3 of them appear on screen at once to try to get a little bit of better advantage on you than you have on them. Thankfully though, it's not really that long before you're finally at the boss, and once you're here, the boss is much easier to deal with. The first form, just duck in front of it and start unleashing a lot of hits to it, and it'll miss you with its sword. It'll then jump over your head to the opposite side of the screen. That'll allow you to get a hit on him there as well. It'll take a few times of this for you to take him out. The second form, though, of the final boss has a spread shot as well as a sword shot. The sword that he shoots out will immediately start off at the top layer, so you'll duck under that, and then as soon as that goes past you, jump up so you can jump over the bottom shot. After he does 2 sets of the sword, he goes back to the large spread, so get away from him so that you have enough area on the side of the level so that you can dodge that big spread shot. The ending for Ninja Crusaders is just 2 screens of white text, which basically just tell you, yay, you beat everybody, and we'll see you again next time, which, however, they've never made another Ninja Crusaders game, at least up to this point. And with that, that's going to wrap up this edition of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.